great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with voices. Lights from 100 different star systems shimmered above the curved seats, and alien delegates sat in tall chairs made from crystal and metal, each one representing a mighty empire. And today, all of them had only one subject on their mind: Earth. At the center of the hall stood the humans, a small group of representatives dressed in plain suits. Compared to the alien robes and shining armor, they looked simple, almost fragile, but their eyes carried something that made the aliens uneasy. There was calmness, and behind that calmness, there was fire. The council speaker, a tall alien with skin like molten silver, raised his hand. His voice echoed across the chamber. "The galaxy has seen enough of Earth," he declared. "Humans are dangerous, unpredictable, reckless. They have grown too fast, and they do not follow our rules." The hall filled with nods and murmurs, some angry, some afraid. One by one, the alien empires cast their votes. Long claws tapped screens, glowing tendrils pressed buttons, ancient voices whispered old laws. Every vote was against Earth. The decision was clear before the last word was spoken. The speaker turned to the humans, his silver eyes sharp and cold. "By the will of the council, Earth is exiled," he said. "You are no longer welcome among the stars. Your fleets will not enter our trade routes. Your voice will not be heard in this chamber. Your world stands alone." The aliens roared with approval. Some laughed, others clapped their claws together. The hall filled with the sound of victory, but the humans did not move. They did not protest. They did not shout. They stood silent, watching, waiting. The silence unsettled the council. They had expected anger. They had expected humans to beg for mercy, to plead for another chance. Instead, the humans simply looked back. One of them, a woman with dark eyes, stepped forward, her voice calm. "If this is your decision, then so be it," she said, and then she turned away. The aliens blinked, confused. The humans walked out of the chamber, their footsteps echoing on the crystal floor. No words of anger, no cries of defeat, only silence. The speaker frowned, his molten skin flickering uneasily. He looked around the chamber. "It is done," he said. But even as the words left his lips, he felt a strange chill. News of the exile spread fast, across star systems, across empires. Alien worlds celebrated. Merchants laughed that human trade would fall. Generals toasted to the end of human influence. Scholars declared that the council had saved the galaxy from danger. But not everyone felt safe. In quiet corners of the galaxy, whispers grew. Soldiers who had fought humans before remembered their battles. Their victories were never easy. They remembered human ships, small but clever. Human soldiers, outnumbered but fierce. Human scientists, poor in resources but rich in ideas. Some whispered that exiling Earth was not victory, it was provocation. Back on Earth, the mood was heavy yet strange. Cities lit up with screens showing the council's vote. Some cried, some cursed, but many simply stared in silence as if waiting. In government halls and hidden bases, leaders spoke in hushed voices. "They have cast us out," one said. "So now we are free." Another replied, "In a vast underground chamber, engineers worked without sleep. Sparks flew from machines. Metal frames rose like skeletons of giants. Soldiers trained in silence, their footsteps echoing in the steel corridors. In orbit above Earth, hidden in the dark, small ships moved like shadows, unseen by alien eyes." Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council, the speaker could not sleep. Visions of human eyes haunted him. The way they left without a word. The silence was louder than any threat. He remembered the woman's voice, calm and steady. "If this is your decision, then so be it." The council thought exile meant weakness, but the speaker began to wonder, what if silence meant something else? What if humanity was not broken but waiting? And so the galaxy turned away, believing Earth was gone, powerless, forgotten, but far from the eyes of the council, in the shadows of their exile, humanity began to rise. The silence of Earth was not surrender. It was the beginning of something far greater, something the galaxy could not yet imagine. The exile of Earth spread like fire through the stars. Alien markets closed their gates to human ships. Trade routes erased Earth from their maps, and smugglers whispered that human colonies were already starving. In the council halls, laughter rang. "The humans will come crawling back," some said. "They will beg for scraps," others agreed. But they were wrong. In the silence of Earth, something else was happening. The cities looked normal on the surface. Children walked to schools, workers filled the factories, trains rushed across glowing rails. But beneath the surface, deep in the hidden layers of Earth, shadows moved, massive tunnels hummed with energy, ships were built in silence, weapons were tested in the dark, and eyes sharper than steel studied the stars. In a secret bunker beneath the Himalayas, leaders gathered, their faces lit by a single blue light. The woman with dark eyes, the same one who had spoken in the council, now stood at the center, her voice calm but filled with fire. "They believe we are broken," she said. "They think exile has made us weak, but exile has made us free. We answer to no one now." Around her, military commanders. Enders nodded. Engineers showed designs, screens flickered with maps of alien fleets, lines drawn in red, targets marked with precision. They were not planning surrender. They were planning something far greater. On the edges of known space, small alien patrols began to vanish. One ship here, another there. Some reported strange shadows in the dark. Others claimed human ships had been seen moving faster than before. No wreckage was ever found. Only silence. The galaxy called it rumor. But rumors grow into fear. In a smoky alien tavern far from the council's shining towers, smugglers whispered, "I saw it with my own eyes," one hissed. A human ship, but not like before. It was smaller, sharper, its engines silent. It moved like a shadow. Another smuggler laughed nervously. "Impossible, they are cut off. They have no resources." But still, unease filled the room. Back on Earth, the whisper spread too. Not of despair, but of defiance. Young recruits marched through the night, training in forests and deserts. Farmers gave food to soldiers in secret. Scientists worked on machines they could never reveal to the council. Every person carried the same fire in their eyes. The woman with dark eyes stood at a balcony in New Delhi. Looking at the millions below, she raised her voice, simple and strong. "We will not beg," she said. "We will not crawl. They cast us out. But now we rise." The crowd erupted, a sea of fists and voices. The words spread like a wave across Earth. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council, the Speaker of Silver Skin frowned. Reports reached him of missing patrols, of whispers in the markets, of strange movements in human space. His advisors told him to ignore it. "They are exiles. They have nothing," they said. But he remembered the silence, the calmness, and he felt the weight of something unseen. In the colonies around Proxima and Mars, humans tightened their defenses. No alien ship was allowed near. Strange signals were intercepted. Encrypted messages bounced between planets. The Council tried to break the codes, but every attempt failed. Humans had grown smarter, faster, more careful. And then came the message. It appeared on alien screens across half the galaxy. Not hacked, not stolen, simply delivered. The face of a human soldier appeared, calm and steady. "Humanity does not beg," he said. "You exiled us, and we accepted. But we do not wait. We do not kneel. Remember this." And then the screen went dark. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some called it a threat, others called it arrogance, but all of them felt fear. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy had no answer. On Earth, the woman with dark eyes smiled faintly as she watched the stars. She knew the galaxy underestimated them. She knew whispers of defiance had become fire. And she knew the council had just made the greatest mistake of their age. The galaxy thought Earth was alone, but in truth, Earth was united. The exile was not the end of humanity, it was the beginning. And somewhere in the darkness of space, a ship cloaked in silence prepared to make the galaxy tremble. The galaxy believed Earth was quiet. To them, silence meant surrender. But inside that silence, humanity moved like a storm, gathering strength behind the clouds, unseen, unheard, waiting for the right moment. Above Earth, satellites blinked out one by one, not destroyed, but shut down by human hands, cutting alien eyes from their skies. Trade ships that once visited human ports found empty stations, gates locked, corridors abandoned. And yet, in the shadows, something far larger was being built. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a base carved into rock and steel, thousands of engineers worked without rest. Spark flew like fire rain as giant hulls were welded, engines roared in testing chambers. New weapons were sketched on glowing screens, machines that no alien had ever imagined, machines that could turn stars into battlefields. In the frozen deserts of Antarctica, soldiers trained in silence, their boots crushing snow as they marched under the pale light, each man and woman knowing that they were not fighting for survival alone, but for dignity, for the right to never kneel. They carried rifles unlike any seen before, sleek, humming with strange power, weapons built not to match the galaxy, but to surpass it. In orbit around Mars, a hidden station pulsed with energy. It was cloaked in shadows, invisible to alien scans. Inside, a new kind of ship was rising. Its frame black as night, edges sharp like blades. Its engines made no sound. Its weapons left no trace. It was the first of its kind, a ghost in the stars. The Galactic Council did not know, but they felt something. Whispers of missing scouts, patrols that never returned, transmissions that ended mid-sentence. One by one, the edges of human space became dangerous. Alien captains refused to go near, afraid of vanishing into the silence. The speaker of silver skin sat in his chamber, staring at reports, every word filled with unease. Humans are hiding something, he whispered. But his advisors laughed. They are weak. They are cut off. They cannot build without us. But in his heart, he remembered their silence, their calmness, and he felt the weight of a storm. Back on Earth, the woman with dark eyes walked through the underground halls of the Pacific base. Soldiers saluted as she passed. Engineers whispered her name with respect. She stopped at the heart of the chamber where a giant warship rested, its hull still unfinished, but its presence overwhelming. She touched the steel with her hand, her voice steady. They think we are broken, but when this ship rises, the galaxy will remember. Outside, ordinary people also carried the burden. Farmers gave grain to soldiers, children drew pictures of ships and stars, teachers spoke of courage and history. Every person knew they were part of something greater. Exile had not broken them. Exile had united them. In hidden labs, scientists unlocked dangerous secrets, weapons that bent light, engines that defied fuel, shields that shimmered like water. They pushed past every limit, knowing the Council would never allow such experiments. But now, there were no rules, only survival. Then came the first test. In the empty black of space near Saturn, the ghost ship appeared, its black hull invisible. It released a pulse, a silent flash of energy. A Council probe exploded without sound, wiped from existence in less than a breath. The humans watched in silence, their faces calm, their eyes burning with quiet victory. On alien worlds, rumors grew. Smugglers swore they saw human ships moving faster than light. Soldiers told stories of battles where human weapons cut through steel like paper. Some laughed, some denied, but fear began to settle in their bones. The Council sent more scouts and more vanished. No wreckage, no signals, only silence. One alien admiral slammed his fist on the table. They are planning something, he growled. Silence is not surrender, it is war. But the Council refused to listen. Arrogance blinded them. They believed humans were still small, still weak, still desperate. But in the shadows, Earth's preparations reached their peak. Fleets hidden under oceans, stations cloaked in asteroid belts, weapons buried deep in mountains. Humanity was not waiting for approval. Humanity was building an answer, and the answer would shake the galaxy. For the first time, the Council's decision began to look less like victory and more like a mistake so great that it might cost them their MP. Shout. As the woman with dark eyes stood on the balcony of the warship, looking at the stars beyond the hangar doors, she whispered only one thing. We do not beg. We do not kneel. We rise. And in the silence of the galaxy, the storm of Earth grew louder, though no one could hear it yet. The galaxy laughed at Earth's silence. In the grand halls of the Council, delegates mocked humans as cowards. In alien markets, traders called Earth a dead world. Soldiers boasted that they would crush any human ship if one dared to appear. But then, the silence was broken. It happened on the edge of Orion space. A patrol fleet of the Valar Empire drifted across the stars, 12 warships strong, armed with weapons that had crushed dozens of smaller species. The Valar captain leaned back in his chair, his claws tapping lazily. Humans will never return here, he sneered. His crew laughed, but their laughter ended when the scanners flickered. A shadow appeared, small at first, then growing sharper. A human warship slipped from the darkness, its frame black as night, no markings, no signals. It looked smaller than the Valar cruisers, weaker, almost fragile. The captain laughed again. One ship? This is their answer? Fire and erase them. Cannons lit the void. Beams of plasma rushed toward the human vessel. But before they landed, the human ship moved. It vanished and reappeared behind the fleet. Its engines made no sound. Its weapons glowed with strange blue fire. One shot burst forth, silent and clean. The nearest Valar warship tore apart in an instant, splitting into burning fragments. Panic filled the fleet. The captain shouted orders. More fire filled the void. But the human ship was already gone. It slipped through their lines like a ghost. Each time it appeared, another alien warship exploded, silent, quick, merciless. Within minutes, 12 mighty warships became burning. Debris and only silence remained. The last thing recorded was the human ship vanishing into hyperspace. No signal, no trace. News spread like wildfire. The council chamber shook with voices. Some screamed it was impossible. Others demanded answers. How can humans build such ships without trade, without allies, without our approval? One alien leader shouted, but no answer came, only fear. In the shadows of Earth, the woman with dark eyes stood before a wall of screens, each one showing fragments of the destroyed fleet. Her face calm, her words cold. They mocked us. They called us weak. Now they will remember one strike, and the galaxy trembles. Her commanders saluted, their eyes burning with fire. Across alien worlds, fear spread. Smugglers whispered of ghost ships. Merchants avoided human borders. Soldiers whispered that fighting humans was no longer a battle. It was suicide. The Valar Empire, once proud, was silent. Their patrols vanished. Their leaders humiliated. The council speaker of silver skin stood in the chamber, his voice heavy. We voted to exile them. We believed they would bow, but they have returned, stronger, silent, deadly. What have we unleashed? His words were met with silence, for no one dared to answer. In the void, another strike followed, this time against a blockade near human colonies. Alien ships surrounded a mining station, waiting to starve it. But out of the black, 3 human vessels appeared. Their weapons burned brighter than suns. In moments, the blockade was gone, the station safe, the humans silent. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer defending. Humanity was hunting. Alien fleets began to retreat from human borders. No longer mocking, no longer laughing, but running. And with every retreat, whispers grew louder. The humans do not beg. The words spread across the stars, whispered in fear, spoken in awe. On Earth, factories roared louder, soldiers trained harder. The exile had become a fire that no one could put out. The storm that had been silent was now striking, and the galaxy finally realized silence was not surrender. Silence was preparation. In the dark of the council chamber, the speaker stared at the stars on the screen, his molten eyes flickering with dread. If one ship can do this, what else are they hiding? He whispered. But he already knew the answer. Humanity had only just begun. The destruction of the Valar patrol spread faster than light. In marketplaces across alien worlds, merchants whispered in hushed tones. In smoky taverns, smugglers swore they had seen human ships appear and vanish like shadows. Soldiers once proud of their power now avoided human borders, and in the great halls of the Galactic Council, silence fell where laughter had once echoed. The council speaker of silver skin read the reports again and again, his molten skin flickering with unease. 12 warships gone in minutes, 3 more fleets destroyed near human colonies, not a single survivor, not even wreckage left to study, only silence and fragments drifting in space. The alien leaders argued, some shouted for war, others trembled for peace. They are only one world, a scaled general roared. If we gather all our fleets, we can crush them. But another voice, soft and ancient, whispered back, and if they have more of those ghost ships, then we march into our own graves. Fear grew like a shadow across the stars. On distant planets, ordinary aliens spoke in fear. The humans do not beg, they whispered. The humans do not kneel. Children shivered when stories were told. Smugglers raised their prices to cross near human space. Even pirates, bold and cruel, turned away from human routes. for no treasure was worth the risk of vanishing in silence. Meanwhile on Earth, the storm grew stronger. The factories roared with endless fire. Steel rose into the skies. Hidden bases deep in oceans and mountains gave birth to more warships, larger and sharper, engines that left no trace, weapons that cut through shields like paper. The woman with dark eyes stood in the command center, screens flickering with maps of alien fleets. Her generals watched her closely. One asked, "Do we strike again? Do we push further?" Her voice was calm, steady, but filled with power. "Not yet," she said. "Fear is our weapon now. Let them drown in it. Let them destroy themselves before we lift a hand." And fear did its work. In the Valar Empire, riots broke out. People demanded protection from humans. Generals fought among themselves. Some wanted peace, others wanted revenge. Their empire trembled. On the world of the Tayari, merchants stopped trade with the council, claiming humans would punish anyone who sided against them. Whole economies began to shake. The council gathered once more, the chamber filled with tension. One delegate slammed his claw on the table. "They were exiled. They should have been broken. Yet they rise. How is this possible?" But no answer came. Every empire looked to another, waiting for courage, waiting for someone else to act. And then came the whispers. From captured smugglers, from intercepted signals, from spies that never returned. Rumors of something far greater than ghost ships. Whispers of a hidden fleet, massive, endless, built in silence under oceans and mountains. A fleet that could challenge the entire council. Some claimed humans had built weapons that could turn stars into fire. Others claimed they had found a way to vanish whole armies without a trace. None of it confirmed. But fear does not need proof. Fear only needs whispers. The speaker of silver skin sat alone in his chamber, his molten hands shaking. He remembered the woman with dark eyes, her calm voice in the council. "If this is your decision, then so be it." She had not spoken in anger, she had spoken in promise. And promises are stronger than threats. Across the stars, alien fleets moved closer to their homeworlds, retreating from human borders. Trade collapsed. Alliances fractured. No one trusted each other, for all feared being the next to face the silent strike. On Earth, the woman with dark eyes stood on the balcony of a new warship, its hull black and sharp, far larger than the ghost ships before. She whispered softly. Her words carried through the halls. "They think fear will make us stop. They do not understand. Fear is only the beginning." Her soldiers bowed their heads, fire burning in their eyes. The galaxy was trembling, but the humans were only waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the council to realize too late what exile had created. For exile had not broken humanity, exile had freed it. And now, the stars belonged to those who refused to beg. The council chamber glowed with 100 alien lights. Voices clashed against each other. Fear had become their language. Fear of whispers, fear of shadows, fear of humanity. Delegates shouted, argued, begged. No one agreed. No one trusted. "The humans must be stopped," cried a general with wings of steel. "If we strike now, we can still crush them." But another voice, older and wiser, whispered, "If we strike and fail, we lose everything." The hall trembled with division. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. Screens across the chamber sparked alive. The council froze as the image of a human appeared, calm, silent, standing tall in a dark room. Behind him was the symbol of Earth, simple, unshaken. His voice carried across the galaxy, strong and steady. "You exiled us," he said. "You cast us out. You believed it would break us, but exile only made us free. We no longer answer to your laws. We no longer bend to your voices. We are humanity, and we rise." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some shouted, some trembled, some demanded the signal be cut, but it could not be cut. The human voice filled every corner of the council, every homeworld, every station, every market. The council chamber glowed with 100 alien lights. Voices clashed against each other. Fear had become their language, fear of whispers, fear of shadows, fear of humanity. Delegates shouted, argued, begged. No one agreed. No one trusted. "The humans must be stopped," cried a general with wings of steel. "If we strike now, we can still crush them." But another voice, older and wiser, whispered, "If we strike and fail, we lose everything." The hall trembled with division. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. Screens across the chamber sparked alive. The council froze as the image of a human appeared. Calm, silent, standing tall in a dark room. Behind him was the symbol of Earth. Simple, unshaken. His voice carried across the galaxy, strong and steady. "You exiled us," he said. "You cast us out. You believed it would break us. But exile only made us free. We no longer answer to your laws. We no longer bend to your voices. We are humanity, and we rise." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some shouted, some trembled, some demanded the signal be cut, but it could not be cut. The human voice filled every corner of the council, every homeworld, every station, every market. "You thought silence meant weakness," the human continued. "But silence was our shield. Silence was our preparation. While you laughed, while you mocked, while you counted us broken, we built, we forged, we prepared. Now, we return not as beggars, but as equals, and you will treat us as such." The screen shifted, and the galaxy gasped. Fleets filled the sky, endless rows of black warships rising from the oceans of Earth, shadows moving in asteroid belts, massive stations humming with power, weapons glowing like suns. The delegates stared in horror. "Impossible," one whispered. "They could not build this." But their eyes told them it was real. The human voice spoke again. "We offer you a choice. Peace built on respect, or war built on fire. You exiled us once, but you will not exile us again." The image vanished, leaving silence heavier than any sound. The council delegates looked to one another, their voices gone, their arrogance gone, only fear remained. On Earth, the woman with dark eyes stood in the command center. She had watched the transmission with her soldiers, their faces burned with pride. One asked, "What if they choose war?" She answered softly. "Then the galaxy will learn what exile has created." Across the stars, reactions exploded. Some empires panicked, pulling fleets back to protect their worlds. Others called for surrender, for peace with humanity before it was too late. Yet others, proud and blind, demanded battle. But all of them, every empire, every leader, every soldier, now knew the truth. The humans were no longer shadows, no longer whispers, no longer exiles. They were a storm, and that storm had spoken. The speaker of silver skin sat in his private chamber, his molten hands trembling. He remembered the calm voice of the human envoy years ago. "If this is your decision, then so be it." Now he understood. It had not been surrender. It had been a warning. He whispered to himself, his voice hollow. "We gave them exile, and in exile, they found freedom. In freedom, they found power. And now, they have returned." The galaxy trembled. The balance of power shattered, and still humanity stood silent, waiting, not rushing, not shouting, only waiting for the council's answer. And in that waiting, the suspense was louder than any war. The council chamber was silent, the kind of silence that felt heavy, like the air itself had turned to stone. For the first time in centuries, no one dared to speak. The image of the human fleet still burned in their minds, endless black warships rising from oceans, glowing weapons brighter than suns. The speaker of silver skin stood slowly, his molten body trembling. "We cannot deny what we have seen," he whispered. "Humanity has risen stronger than any of us imagined." But his words were met with chaos. Some delegates shouted for peace, others demanded war. The chamber was split. On the world of the Valar, crowds filled the streets, fear written across their faces. Their empire had lost fleets already, and the people demanded protection, demanded surrender. On the frozen world of the Tayari, merchants shut down their markets, refusing to risk angering humanity. On distant colonies, whispers grew into chants. "The humans do not beg. The humans do not kneel." Back on Earth, the woman with dark eyes stood before her people. Soldiers, engineers, leaders, ordinary citizens all gathered to hear her words. Her voice was calm, powerful, steady as stone. "They cast us out," she said, "but exile gave us freedom. They mocked us, but their laughter forged our fire. Today, the galaxy sees us not as outcasts but as power," the crowd roared, their voices shaking the ground. The council tried one last act of defiance. A coalition fleet, massive, thousands of ships gathered near the edge of human space. Their leaders claimed they would test humanity's words to see if the threat was real. But when their fleet arrived, the stars themselves seemed to darken. for humanity's warships were already waiting, lines of steel and shadow stretching farther than eyes could see. The alien commanders froze, their screens filled with endless human vessels, engines glowing silently, weapons humming with unseen energy. No signal, no demand, only presence. One admiral whispered in fear, "This is not a fleet. This is an empire." And then the human flagship appeared, larger than all the rest, its black frame rising like a mountain among shadows. From it came a single voice, calm, steady, undeniable. "You exiled us, but you will not exile us again. This is your last chance, peace or fire, respect or ruin." The alien fleet did not fire. They could not. Their courage melted. Their weapons meant nothing against the storm they faced. One by one, their ships powered down, their leaders sent signals of surrender, and with that act, the galaxy began to kneel. Back in the council chamber, silence fell again, but this silence was different. It was the silence of defeat, of acceptance. The speaker of silver skin lowered his molten eyes, and for the first time he bowed his head. Across the stars, messages spread, empires declaring peace with Earth, leaders sending envoys, soldiers laying down arms, merchants reopening trade under human terms. The galaxy that once laughed now bent under the weight of humanity's rise. On Earth, celebrations filled the cities, fireworks lit the skies, but the woman with dark eyes stood apart, watching the stars, her expression calm, not of arrogance, but of quiet pride. She whispered, "We did not beg, we did not kneel, we simply rose." Her words carried like a promise, like a warning, like a truth that could not be undone. The galaxy had tried to cast out Earth, but in their arrogance, they had freed it. Exile had become fire, silence had become strength, and now humanity was no longer the outcast. Humanity was the storm, and the storm had made the galaxy kneel.